Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to Frost and Fire. A little reminder of the rules, and of course, if you want to play along, here are the links. So, last episode was an interesting one. Pretty straightforward. We are just trying to improve our infrastructure as best as we can. I want to go over some tips before I get into the thick of things. One, Snookhammer asked me if I could, just for OCD's sake, make all of Raptor's bedroom walls jade. So yeah, I can do that. Another, Vitamortis, mentioned that I am going to need to put my orbital trade beacon back to where it is, and then to make sure that it is the oldest and primary orbital trade beacon. I'll explain why. So, just a little reminder, and I've said this a lot, but I'm going to say it yet one more time. Trades and pod drop raiders go to the oldest unroofed beacon. So in order to set up my beacons correctly, I need to move this beacon so that it is installed where I want it, and then to uninstall and reinstall this beacon so it is newer than this one. Keep this one roofed off so that pod raiders go here, and then when I trade, put this one back into service. So that is the order of operations there. And we'll get those two things underway. There was a whole lot of comments mentioning, would it be smart to set up another sun lamp plus hydroponics? Yes, this is indeed something I want to do. However, the amount of steel required to set such a project up is at the moment prohibitive. What I mean by that, it would just simply take too much resources of mine to do so. So instead of setting that project up, now I'm going to wait until I have proper defenses. I only really have enough steel for one or the other, but not both. So given my current level of steel, I'm going to be investing the steel into defenses, which will keep us alive rather than expanding our food grid. Now, one thing that Crash M mentioned is maybe because I'm not really able to utilize hay, it would be smart to start using Pemmican instead. Now, this is probably a very confusing concept for a lot of you, but let me explain why. When you produce kibble, it takes 2 units of nutrients, which yields 2.5 nutrients as a result, which is a net gain of 25%. So basically, unless you're using hay, and even if you're using hay, this is the case. But for meals, for simple meals, for instance, you only get out 80% of the nutrients you put in. So when we eat a simple meal, if you take a look at these simple meals do not have a nutrient value of 1. So what's happening here is we are putting in... Simple meals are not an efficient method of feeding yourself compared to fine meals, which have, other meals which have a higher nutrient value. I'm not explaining this very well, but basically, the nutrient value of kibble compared to the nutrient value of pemmican provides more nutrition for its ingredients than kibble. Now, the only reason to do kibble over pemmican is that you can make kibble out of hay, and hay is a very easy resource to farm mass amounts of, whereas because I am using rice to make kibble, it would actually make more sense. Strangely enough, it would actually make more sense to make the crabs eat pemmican instead of kibble. So pemmican has a net nutrient gain of 60%, and kibble has a net nutrient gain of 25%. So kibble is still better than simple meals, but not better than pemmican. So to that end, what I need to do is retool my research to go for pemmican and to have my crabs start eating pemmican as a primary nutrient source. It does mean that all of this pemmican that has fallen from the sky here is going to mix in with all of the pemmican that I will be feeding the crabs, which is a bit messy. Because once I start making pemmican for the crabs, I can't allow my own colonists to eat pemmican because the foul meat that can be found in pemmican would be very, very misery-inducing. I hope that all of this so far has made sense to you. So another thing I'm going to need to do is to repair my defenses, repair my perimeter. So one of the issues here is that the stay close zone is not going to allow Bash to actually repair that northern wall. So I just included in the stay close zone. And another thing I'm going to need to do is to sort of set up my perimeter and that's going to be a little bit of work. All right, Bash, I would very much like you to put the jade wall in so that Bash, Hippie, and Raptor don't all share a... nope, just build it now. Don't all share our barracks before tomorrow night. And there it is. We do have one of our guys shuttle off. You know, they're requesting colonists. And that was mostly because he was injured. And yeah, I figured because he's injured, it won't be that much of a problem. So we are heading into the mid spring, which means that we are going to have the ability to do some outdoor construction projects despite the toxic fallout. Just because it is the right temperature. Another thing I could do out here is just to make sure that no one hauls this away, is to call this trade beacon. And to make this critically important. Because it would be awful if we uninstalled this and then we pulled it all the way back to the base only to have to pull it out again. So this would be miscellaneous orbital trade beacon. And we'll get that uninstalled and reinstalled soon. And we are grinding up the mechanoids that we killed to try to build our base out of dead mechanoids. Pretty metal, if you ask me. Pretty awesome. I'm also going to allow the stay close zone to include this area down here so that we can mine out a tunnel. Now, the reason for this tunnel is so that one turret placed in this location here will be able to cover this door and this whole wall to dissuade sappers. And also all of this, all this slag is pretty handy, you know, for steel production. It's not quite as good as just going straight after, you know, actual mining over here, but it's a close second. And this is going to be important so that we, you know, protect our perimeters. Because without protecting our perimeters, well, we really won't survive very long. Redfoot here is still with us. How much longer are you with us? You are here for 10 more days. So she's been here for 10 days. She's here for 10 more days on top of that. What's interesting is that we haven't had any of the mech clusters that we were sort of promised to get. I'm rather surprised by that we haven't had the mech clusters hit yet, but yeah, that's fine. I sort of dread that they're coming, but you know, they'll come when they do. It's also been a toxic fallout for about a half a season. A season is 15 days, so 8 days is a little bit, you know, it's about a half a season. So checking up on a perimeter around, there is one wall over here that needs obvious replacement, and then a bunch of walls over here that need repair. So I'm going to include them in the stay close zone so that we can maintain them. And I'll do that sort of everywhere. Make sure that all of the external walls are now included so that we get them repaired and upkept. Now, as you can see, JD's toxic buildup, it's going up. It's not ideal to let it get up too high because there is a risk of things like dementia and Alzheimer's if you let it affect your brain too badly. So that's something that I very much would want to avoid. Okay, we are starting to get a lot of rice. And then the other thing I'm going to do in here, in this kitchen, is for meat, I'm going to allow fowl and human meat, and I'm going to be making pemmican out of it. So fowl and human meat will be stored up here so that we can make pemmican once the pemmican research is done, which it is almost fully done. We have more cargo pods up north. Okay, chem fuel. So one thing I'm going to need to do is probably a caravan pack of all of the stuff that has been landing that I should make use of, like the hops and the medicine. So I'm going to take a relatively healthy person like Raptor here and make him do the caravanning so that I'm not building up toxic fallout with anyone else. Now, the only issue with using Raptor is his temperature tolerance. He's not that tolerant of extreme cold. So I think what I'll do is I'll have him throw on a parka before doing this. It's going to upset him because it's not the correct clothing for him to wear. But I'd rather have him be a little upset and alive than, dead. So I think the first thing I want to go after is the medicine and then the hops. And his temperature tolerance is now close to ambient. It's not perfect, but it's closer to ambient, which should allow him to grab some of this resources and components and stuff like that. Okay, and he is apparently full up. So, I'm gonna see if I can't have him haul a little bit more than he is queued up to do. There we go. Remove from caravan. Expand the zone because it might actually fill up soon. And then wear the correct clothing once he's done. So let's force these back on him. All right, so now we have a lot of extra medicine, which is great. That means that this Nutrimian won't necessarily be have to be used up and utilized or whatnot. Let's make sure that the crabs don't be standing on my my benches. So this was previously the kibble stockpile, and this is going to become the pemmican stockpile. Which also means that for the crab zone, I'm going to... or the restricted hauling crab zone, I'm going to allow Cauterize to come down here, and he should be on restricted hauling. Yep, there he is. Come down here and haul this pemmican for me. Now, if we take a look at the pet temperature tolerances, as you can see, they are tolerant of about -10 Celsius. So it's not quite that we're at the temperature that we will allow them to free roam or whatnot, but they're getting closer. And all this new wort that we're making is going to be great. We also have a combat supplier flying overhead. So one of the things that I haven't done yet is switch the beacons around. So I need to find... I guess Bash is in slightly better health than JD in terms of toxic fallout buildup. So the stay close zone up here, I need to uninstall this beacon and reinstall it so that my trades go to my trade beacon zone, as I just explained. And now we got Pemmican. So now that we have Pemmican, we can go back to Recon Armor, as that was our next one. And reinstalling this beacon means it is in a newer installation than our first beacon, which means that I will be able to trade with the combat supplier. And I am likely to get rid of the bolt action rifle. We don't really need it anymore. And let's see here. That's probably it. But as you may have noticed, the silver lands within my stockpile, which means it works correctly. My the zone. Oh, well, that's unfortunate timing. Raptor just got a trade inspiration. You know what? Let's take a look at what they have for sale. Not that I really have a lot of silver, but with the trade inspiration, it might be possible to, I don't know, buy something nice. I was hoping for like a Doomsday Launcher or something like that, but they don't have one for sale. So that's a moot point. All right, so the stay close zone is going to include these corners here, so we mine them out. And the idea here is we'll be putting a steel turret right in this spot on dead power. I might want to be able to power it up at some point if I need to. But this turret will cover this whole corridor. And then I might do the same thing over here. Mine this area out and put a turret in there to cover this inside area as well. Looks like the toxophalate might be ending. It's slightly less green. I'm not sure, it's hard to tell. And Raptor's still attempting to find, you know, underground materials that might be benefiting us. I'd very much like to mine up a ton of this gold up here. But the thing stopping me is the toxic fallout. I could use my wood. So the reason why I haven't, you know, if you're thinking, oh, why not just like build walls? It's because this uncovered metallic pipes has a terrain affordance of light, which means I would have to use, I could wall it in. Oops, what did I just do? I could wall it in, but it would have to be wooden walls, and I kind of don't want to use my wooden walls. To keep Raptor happy, I am trying to keep the braziers lit, because if they're unlit, it's not a dignified throne room, which then he has a mood penalty for, right? So I'm trying to do my best to keep Raptor happy, and in order to do that, I want my braziers lit, which means, you know, using my wood for a fuel source and not for, you know, something like wooden walls, unless it's absolutely needed, which in this case it really isn't. It's really not all that necessary. All right, worst of the toxic fallout has settled. So that means I very, very, very much want to utilize this as a just grab as much of this this gold as I can, so that we have a supply of gold for advanced components. So I'm going to let everybody unrestrict. There's really nowhere on the map that I don't want them to go. Everything is safe now, and the ambient temperature is raising. Actually, that's not entirely true. I'm going to have Redfoot stay close because she's not very well temperature protected. But everybody else is going to be released from their restricted zones so that we can make the most out of the season. All right, so here is that turret. It can power on if need be. And the concept here, I've explained before, but let me explain again. Sappers, when they come to your base, they want to take the path of least resistance. So they're coded to attack towards your bedrooms. They're actually coded to basically attack move towards bedrooms. And the path of least resistance for them is not going through turrets, auto turrets, or uranium slug. So they will want to attack you. They ignore IEDs. They ignore deadfall traps. It's like the deadfall traps and IEDs don't even exist. But they will actively avoid everything else. Ooh. I guess I'll put another pillar there. But they'll actively avoid defenses that fire bullets, is I think the way to put it. Or slugs or whatever. However you want to phrase it, that's what they do. So what's important is if you want to prevent sappers to sap through this tunnel to get to my power grid, having a turret here makes it so that they won't attack through here if there's a easier path of attack. So that's actually the same reason why I slightly redesigned this area here, where I removed this sort of nook so that one turret built in this spot can cover all of these walls, meaning that sappers won't likely go through this point. It also means that they will possibly come through this point, but because I have all these turrets here, this area is sort of still defended by these turrets. In the long run, the way I like to defend against sappers, and I've done this in previous series like Tomb World, is setting up a way for the attackers to get to me that is, that is unwanted. How to put it? That is like deadfall traps or IEDs, so that they... that's what JD was doing. I thought he was mining. He was actually just moving the mining beacon. Oops. So designing it so that they have a path to get to me that is... that they will innately ignore. Because it's not turrets, but it still is a way for them to get to me that is guarded by deadfall traps or IDs. So that's sort of the concept there. All right, there is one missing power conduit. Okay. Let's haul these components in as a priority because they're literally about to decay. Okay, so this turret now needs dead power to turn off, so I'm going to install dead power next to it. Because I don't really want to pay for it to be on all the time. And if you check our perimeter, enemies won't want to come through here because of this turret. They won't want to come through here because of this turret. What I do need to do is I need to offer them a valid path where they are interested in attacking me. That's just as important, and I haven't really set that up yet. I do plan on it, but I haven't set it up yet. No. My goodness, no. So, allow rotten, should not allow rotten. I should not be taking your rotted beak things. I think what I'm going to do is, let's just put a bunch of rotten beak things. I'll just call it stockpile rot, and really rotted corpses will go here, and I'll just throw a Molotov on them once they're all put there. I didn't really intend to clean up the map of like dead beak things, but now it's a little too late because they're sitting in my stockpile, which is not what I wanted. Okay, so the crabs are still eating the pemmican. They're eating the non-foul meat pemmican, but what I'm going to start to do is to set up foul meat pemmican queues. And I'll drop it on the floor and have someone else haul it. That will have to do. So now that Gabe is starting to do compacted steel mining, and given the temperature and the fact that it's no longer toxic fallout, it's going to allow me to start to set up really good defenses like uranium slug turrets and the like. I just need to get a little bit more steel. Hippie. I'm going to have you haul. You are going to be my primary hauler. All right, so here is Pemmican. Another thing that I have to make damn well sure is that everything no longer includes pemmican or kibble. Because I'm making pemmican out of fowl meat, I do not in any scenario want my colonists eating the fowl meat pemmican, because the fowl meat in the pemmican will make them unbelievably unhappy. And for obvious reasons, I want to avoid that scenario. So removing it from from the sort of everything meal selection. Not that anyone's set to that right now, but removing it from the everything meal selection will prevent that, you know, from ever happening. And I'm also removing the kibble as well, because kibble is not a material that you know, that our guys will be happy eating. All right, taking a look at our clothing. Bash just lost his pants. There's a joke in there somewhere, but yeah, he is now pantsless. And soon I'll be turning on my air conditioning in lieu of heating. We're not quite at that point yet, but we are moving towards it. He should also probably be... So here, this is the tough decision, because I want steel to set up my slug turrets and the like, right? Obviously. But I also want gold for the advanced components. So I'm sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place of what to mine first, because JD isn't a particularly good miner. He's not full yield yet. Oh, come on. Redfoot, why would you do that? Hippie, I'm going to use you a moment to burn all those corpses that you so dutifully moved. Redfoot is unconscious, which is really not a good way to treat a guest. But, you know, what can we do? Oh, and I guess there was a human. Oh, yeah, this is a United Cities corpse. This area is going to need to be taken off of the home zone. And switch the weapons back. Alright, so JD, you're patching up Redfoot. Wow. Raptor almost bit off her arm. 4 hit points of 27 left. Yep, you almost bit off her arm. That is, yeah, gross. Is all I'm going to say to that. Yeah, gross. That's terrible. So there's a lot of steel. This steel isn't necessarily in our stockpile, but there's a lot of steel that we'll be able to count on. So as a result, it would be good for me to start to set up my defenses. My security perimeter, if you will. So the idea here is to, let's center it. So 27. So if we had 13 and 13 on each side, which means that this would be somewhat of a, like, permanently open door. And I might airlock this one. So that if we're brawling, we can siphon the brawlers. And then another thing I'm going to want to do is have like sort of pillbox design. So I think the issue is my granite amount is pretty limited. So I'm going to do this in limestone and then replace some of it in granite. So how I like to build is, I might even have this back section be steel. Not that I like to build out of steel, but it's to save precious stone resources. So to have areas, physical areas, let's put doors in like this. One top and bottom. And then putting in... Okay, I'm not going to put in these walls yet. We'll build this first. Raptor is still... Okay, JD's gotten to him. Good. Sorry, Redfoot. You were not treated fairly. Or not well, at least. Okay, she's on her feet, though, but she's going to be very mad that she was, like, knocked unconscious considerably. Alright, cauterize is... It's, I would say, unrestricted animal hauling is now acceptable. Because it's not that cold out anymore. So let's expand the unrestricted animal hauling to include, you know, most areas here. I need to update it because it hasn't been updated in a while. And then unrestricted animal hauling should also include all the stuff up here because there's no longer mech clusters. There probably will be mech clusters soon, to keep that in mind, because guarding Redfoot is going to cause mech clusters to come. Like, they're supposed to be here. I guess they're going to all come at the very end of her, at the end of her stay. I don't know why. It's just random. But until there's mech clusters back, I can obviously let people go. And then the avoid zone, honestly, the avoid zone I can just outright get rid of because there's nothing to avoid at the moment. And I'll repaint an avoid zone once there is something to avoid. So big thing. Where are you hauling this big thing? To rotten animals? Do I have a rotten animals zone? I didn't think I'd... Oh, yeah, down here. Okay, forget it. Hippie, go haul something else. Okay, so Redfoot's back on her feet. So she really hates Raptor. And Raptor really hates... Actually, Raptor doesn't really care. She hates Raptor. I don't know why. Let's see. Angered me, harmed me, insulted me. Okay, yeah, that would explain it. Raptor was a big old jerk to her, but she... Yeah, okay. Alright, I'm going to have Hippie clean up a little bit. After all the vomit that I had to deal with her, I think it serves her right a bit to have to clean up. So the unrestricted animal hauling, I'm going to get rid of the kibble zone. Because that's where all the excess beer is going to go, and we are almost to the point where, you know, we're going to have a ton of beer that's fully fermented and not have storage space for it. So I don't want the crabs to be drinking it. I don't trust the crabs. Okay, so Gabe's coming back down to do some more steel mining, and JD and Bash should start to work on this structure here. This defensive structure. That's an odd way to get your steel, but I guess who am I to judge? I'm going to start to have... Oh, here is a fertilized egg. Hopefully cauterized doesn't eat that. Now that I have a supply of pemmican for the crabs, I don't think that they're going to be mowing into that. Another thing I might want to grab is all this chem fuel. This is pretty helpful chem fuel, so I'm going to tell Hippie to start hauling that over. And this is definitely not where we should store worts. So preferably worts up here in a preferred zone. Yeah, I actually don't even know why the wort's down here. I think the crab hauled it because the crab's not allowed in the kitchen. Okay, Redfoot's drinking because she's upset. She got punched and knocked unconscious. Yeah, arguably, I understand. Here comes Hippie hauling the chem fuel. And of course, I haven't forgotten about all these ship chunks. The thing is, I have so many components that I'm not all that worried about the ship chunks yet. But once I make my defenses, I'm sure I'm going to want the ship chunks deconstructed for material. We're just not at that point yet. All right, Gabe, I actually want you mining that section first. Swell. So here is this sort of security airlock, which also will you know, slow down brawlers or whatnot. And I do have enough granite for that. That's good. Now I might need to make some plasteel doors instead of stone doors. I want doors that aren't necessarily flammable. And we scan some underground steel. Sort of useful. It's not that close. So this is, I think, the last batch of Pemmican, and that means Bash will help around the base. Starting to construct and whatnot. Alright, Ms. Hippie. There is a lot more chem fuel. I'm going to make you go for it. Now, I only really have to worry about Redfoot's mood at the very end of her stay, because the end of her stay is what counts for the, you know, for everything, really. So what I'm going to be doing here is I don't actually have a lot of, I don't have a lot of colonists, so I don't really need a lot of places for them to shoot out of. So before I start putting doors in here, let me think about security. So I'm going to want, let's see, I'm going to want slug turret here, 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 and here. Which means I want steel doors to be able to repair them easily. We'll put the steel doors on the outside, like that. So that these doors here lead to steel doors, and then, or plasteel doors, so that I can very quickly gain access to the uranium slug turrets to repair them. And then I will also put in autocannon turrets. So the issue with these... I might want to move these over in like this, so that I have a little bit more space. So, autocannon, 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 autocannon. So the important thing here is to put walls in between them, so that if one blows up, they don't chain explode. Right? And then service doors. Which then means that the remainder of this wall here will look something like this. And then in front of all of these, I will have the uranium slug turrets. Or the uranium regular turrets, not slugs. So what's going to be important is for me to run power out to this area. So there's me running power out there. And I might end up having 3 cables, just so that if a few break, I still have a lot of backups. And I'm going to make these slug turrets first. Actually, I'm going to make, I'll make a set of slugs and autos like this. Phoenix has returned, which is good. Welcome back, Phoenix. And that means Raptor's honor just went up a little bit. Phoenix. I'm going to have you hauling and then making slag. Gabe, you're probably... Okay, Gabe, I really want to do the gold. Because I'm only going to be able to get to that gold in, you know, certain seasons. There's a ton of pemmican to feed these crabs. And once Gabe's done sowing, he should head to the gold to mine. Digging a compacted seal. All right, let me remove the compacted seal queue. Oh, you know what? I'm going to finish this off just because I'm sort of curious. I don't think there's anything in there, but curiosity's going to get the best of me. Yeah, okay, nothing. Cool. Not surprising, like I said. All right, so JD and Bash are working on the defenses, hauling in steel for the turrets. I think even Cauterize is doing it. Yep, 75 and 56 apiece. And we have a Manhunter pack of Gorillos. A whole lot of them from the south. So here's the thing. I am going to have everyone go inside. Basically, stop what they're doing, go inside. These Gorillos might not actually know how to get to me because I've walled everything up. So, JD, I'm going to have you offer them a valid target. It's also possible that these Gorillos, we hunt for significant sources of meat. So I'm actually quite excited about there being Gorillos out here. Because we can turn them for profit. You know, for meaty, lovely profit. Phoenix, if I set you to stay close, does that have you in the way of Gorillos? I think you'll be okay. Yeah, I think stay close is safe-ish. I'll just have to keep an eye on everybody. So we have some Gorillos already going through the maze over here. And I realize I don't have Bash or JD or Phoenix out here to do some brawling. And what I could do is I could fall back, have these guys come out, cycle up my turrets. I think I have one turret I shouldn't have selected. Wow. Surprisingly, my defenses... Okay, there we go. Okay, not the most elegant work ever, but it'll have to do. Kind of a waste of steel relying on this. Okay, so here we go. We got... there's also a possibility of me wanting to tame these Gorillos. So I'm actually going to grab one of these Gorillos here and rescue them. And I'll be curing their Scoria. The brain-injured one over here is just going to die. Alright, so how many left are there? There's 5, I think? Yeah, 5 left. Alright, so the remainder of you... Let's go hunt. Power off my turrets. I think there's one turret that should be... Okay, this one is on, but should be off. So if we flip this on and then back up. Okay, Raptor, you tend to this Gorillo. And then before it wakes up, I'm going to have to cure its Scoria. So here comes the other Gorillos to come fight me. Alright, let's get all 9 turrets on. I don't want to take any chances. I'll start moving north. I've got my brawlers to protect me. Doing their job. Lovely. So it's also another good idea to maybe have a breeding pair. So that... No, it looks like they're all female. This one's male, but it has a lot of injuries. So yeah, maybe I won't. Maybe I won't have a breeding pair. I don't want, like... I'm already having to feed a lot of gorillas, right? So I don't really want to have it be even more expensive. So, schedule. Let's release everybody. Close this door. So, Phoenix, you're going to close the door. And everybody's going to be back on unrestricted except for Redfoot, who should still stay close to home. All right, this gorilla here, once patched, I'm going to clean the blood. And then, for me to be able to tame it, I need to remove the scoria. Cure scoria, and this is going to require herbal or better. Or, no, that's not what I meant to do. Operate. Remove the scoria, and possibly tame it. You know, there's a chance. Underground steel scanned, and that's closer to the base than all the previous scans for underground steel. But I think this zone is probably what I'll utilize first. Okay, it is now cured. So now we'll try to tame it. But the other important thing is to butcher... Yes, butcher this creature's... so that none of these out here are going to rot. Because I wouldn't want to lose the meat. Well, guys, that is all the time I have for this episode. I'm very happy to be getting a gorilla. Once again, if you're wondering why, much like how crabs shed very heat-insulating wool called the crab chitin, the gorillas have a wool that's very good for cold. So this is why I grabbed the gorilla. I didn't grab the other gorillas that were possibly able to be tamed just because they had like injuries that would make them less useful. But we'll start with one and go from there. If you have any feedback for me, let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll catch you all next episode. Farewell.